Hello. I just heard that the social distancing due to the coronavirus pandemic will be extended to 2022 if the U.S. comes up with a vaccine that so people can take and cure everybody. But it just depends on if this country gets the vaccine or not. So just gotta sit back and just see what happens on this. And yeah, um, in this video, I want to talk about the death penalty. You know, the United States and China and other countries that share this, they're the only countries that practice capital punishment or the death penalty. And the U.S. is at the top list when it comes to this. Well, there's some states here in America that are death penalty states that are practicing the death penalty, and there's other states that don't practice it at all. They abolished it. States like Connecticut. Um, yeah. Also, I watched some YouTube videos from YouTubers. Two YouTubers. One from Canada and the other from the United Kingdom. And this one YouTuber from Canada talked about bringing back the death penalty because heard someone killed someone in their family, and she talked about Canada should bring it back. And Canada had the death penalty, but they abolished it and got rid of it. They don't have it anymore. And in the UK, a YouTuber, and I can remember his name. This YouTuber in the UK by the name of Scotty 3861 talked about his country should bring back the death penalty because some boys killed someone and they were put in prison and they got a lighter sentence and they were let out back into the public. And he's outraged about this and he talked about bringing back the death penalty in his country. And I look at those two and I said, no, you guys don't want that. Like, there's a lot of baggage there's a lot of baggage with that. I mean, yeah, guilty people are going to be executed, but also innocent people are going to be executed as well. And along with the mentally ill and the mentally retarded and people with disabilities. And speaking of executing the mentally retarded and people with disabilities, um, there's one state in America that just constantly putting people on death row, just killing people every day, and it's a state that has a governor sitting on top of 254 executions. It's just downright crazy. And that state I want to talk about is Texas. Um, I live in this state, and the death penalty is just part of the norm here. I mean, you got people here, authority figures, and politicians talk about, oh, if you kill a police officer, if you kill anybody, you involve in a crime where you murder someone, you will face the ultimate justice in the state of Texas, and you will be executed. Um, yeah, which is just crazy. And you had a governor where where he heard someone ask him about the death penalty, he falls to the ground and starts laughing. And I'm going to read something about a guy named Marvin Wilson who was put to death in Texas, here in Texas, back in 2012. So that was like a long, long time ago. And it didn't get any coverage from the mainstream media. It was a mainstream media miss. Excuse me. Networks like cable news networks like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, and others didn't cover this at all. So I'm going to go ahead and read about Marvin Wilson. And it's titled, this is from the Huffington Post, whatever it's called. Marvin Wilson executed. Texas puts man with 61 IQ to death. And it reads as follows. New York. Texas authorities executed Marvin Wilson, a 54-year-old death row inmate, on Tuesday night after his attorneys failed to convince state and federal courts that he was mentally retarded and eligible for the death penalty under a 2002 Supreme Court ruling. Wilson was declared dead at 6:27 p.m. local time. He cried out to his gathered family members as he expired, Texas officials said. "Give me a hug for me and tell her that I love her," Wilson said. "Take me home, Jesus. Take me home, Lord," he continued. I ain't left yet. Must be a miracle. I am a miracle." The Supreme Court late in the afternoon rejected without comment a last-ditch appeal by Wilson's lawyer, clearing the way for his death by lethal injection. The appeal cited a 2004 psychological exam that prejudged Wilson's IQ at just 61. The Texas benchmark for mental retardation is an IQ of about 70 or less. "We are gravely disappointed and profoundly saddened that the United States Supreme Court has refused to intervene," said Lee Karolski, Wilson's attorney and a lawyer professor at the University of Maryland. Wilson was convicted in 1994 in the shooting death of Jerry Williams, 21, who had identified him to police as a drug dealer. His accomplice in the crime, Terry Lewis, was given life in prison with the possibility of parole after Lewis's wife testified that Wilson confessed to pulling the trigger. No forensic evidence or eyewitnesses' testimony established the identity of the shooter. Wilson maintained that he did not commit the murder, but his defense ultimately hinged on convicting state or federal courts that his diminished mental capacity should expand him from execution. School records showed Wilson fared poorly in school, earning D's and F's in special education class and failing 7th grade. Family members testified that Wilson was called dummy and retard by other children when he was a boy and struggled with basic tasks that include tying his shoes, counting money, and mowing the lawn. Texas and federal courts, however, rejected Wilson's claim that he was mentally retarded, siding with prosecutors who argued that his actions showed him to be a street-savvy criminal. Prosecutors also declared that other intelligence tests showed Wilson's IQ was in the low to mid-70s. Wilson's created schemes using a decoy to screen his thefts, hustled for jobs in the community, and orchestrated the execution of the snitch, demonstrating independence, drive, and leadership. Edward Marshall, a Texas Assistant Attorney General, said in a statement. In 2002, the Supreme Court prohibited the execution of the mentally retarded, declaring it cruel and unusual punishment forbidden under the Constitution's Eighth Amendment. Those with diminished mental capacity, the court ruled, are less comparable for their crimes than those with normal intelligence. The reasoning was nearly identical to the legal argument the court embraced in forbidding the execution of juvenile defenders. The court left it up to the states to determine who qualified as mentally retarded. In response, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, the top state court, cited in a ruling the childlike character Lenny from John Steinbeck's classic novel of Mice and Men as its standard of what type of offender should be exempt from execution. Most Texas citizens would agree that Steinbeck's Lenny should, by virtue of his lack of reasoning ability and adaptive skills, be exempt from execution, the court found. Those with more advanced intelligence should face execution, regardless of psychological tests and indicating mental defects, the ruling said. The Texas standard has been used repeatedly to justify the execution of those who, by clinical benchmarks, would typically be judged to suffer from mild mental retardation. Those standards appealed to Wilson, who exhibit serious mental defects beginning in childhood, the family members said. According to his sister, Wilson sucked his thumb into his 20s. His cousin, Beverly Waters, said Wilson was constantly teased about his intelligence as a boy. The other kids in school will always call Marvin dummy, Waters said in 2003. On Tuesday, the use of Steinbeck's character to support the execution of those with less profound mental defects was criticized harshly by the author's son. Prior to reading about Mr. Wilson's case, I had no idea that the great state of Texas would use a fictional character that my father created to make a point about human loyalty and dedication as a benchmark to identify whatever defendants with intellectual disability should live or die, Thomas Steinbeck said in a statement. I am certain that if my father, John Steinbeck, were here, he would be deeply angry and ashamed to see his work used in this way, Steinbeck said. Wilson is the seventh prisoner Wilson is the seventh. Excuse me. Uh, Wilson is the seventh prison. Was the seventh person put to death in 2002 by Texas, which has 9 more inmates scheduled to die by lethal injection before the end of the year. Um, yeah. So it's kind of sad that a guy who doesn't know any better, who is disabled, who has an intellectual disability, is executed because the United States Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional to which is wrong to put someone to death with a disability. Um, but the state of Texas don't care because they feel that if you murder someone, we're gonna kill you, and and also in courtrooms all over Texas, they don't pay attention to the evidence that is used in a crime when it was involved someone who murdered someone. I mean, they're just like, I mean, I don't know, the jury and the judge and the entire state of Texas is just sick in the head and kill happy and heartless. I mean, and they don't care. They feel that, well, if you kill someone, we're going to kill you back. You're going to pay with your life. And, and speaking of lethal injection, the state of Texas um, pretended to be a hospital to fool a drug company that had poison, a company in Europe that had poison. The state of Texas pretended to be a hospital to fool that company in Europe to acquire drugs, poison, to use in their lethal injection to kill people on death row. And I heard about this, and this was shocking. I think I heard this on the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC a while back, a long time ago. Well, not that long. I think around about like 2014 or 2015. I don't remember. Yeah. It's disturbing, really. Very, very disturbing. And just downright fundamentally messed up. And you got people like, okay, all these executions in Texas are held in some execution chamber. I don't know what the name of it is. The Polinsky unit in Huntsville is where like people and the families of the victims who are the people who are the families of a victim who was murdered by the murderer. They all, they and the family of the murderer, they all go in a room and they sit behind a window. They sit there and watch a person being strapped to a bed, have a needle connected to a bag of poison, the needle stuck in one of their arms, and the poison is injected into their blood veins and killing them. And they just sit there and just watch this. In the outside of the U.S. and other countries, I mean, they don't do this. I mean, they don't have the death penalty. They don't, because they did away with it a long, long time ago. And they don't have it anymore. You got the United States still practicing the death penalty. And you got guys like Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk and others who view the death penalty, they'll just say this like, I can care less about what happened to that guy. That guy's a piece of crap to me. And it's just not a thing to them. They just don't care. I mean, they just view someone who murdered someone and took someone's life, and they feel that, oh, they should be punished. And they don't look at the injustice and the wrongdoings of the death penalty, and I feel that, capital punishment, in America is just, to me, it's just a waste of taxpayer money and a waste of time. I mean, we're going through a coronavirus pandemic right now, and the coronavirus pandemic has exposed the broken, dysfunctional, bureaucratic healthcare system. It just shows this country's healthcare system as being just cruel, heartless, and just downright evil. I mean, a healthcare system that leaves a lot of people uninsured. Um, People die waiting because they don't have health insurance, and they try to get health insurance and they can't pay for their medication, and then some have to ration their medication. I mean, instead of like using taxpayer money to create a system called Medicare for All, which Bernie Sanders want to implement on the country, becomes president, but no, he dropped out because he was screwed by the Democratic National Committee, the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. He was screwed so Joe Biden can win, because greedy, hungry, money hungry lunatics and greedy, heartless corporations don't want Bernie Sanders to win and become president, because he's going to end their gravy train, and he's going to shift the money and the resources to the people and not big businesses and corporations and multinational corporations. Yeah, and like, we got crumbling infrastructure. Flint, Michigan got lead in their water, and in some southern states they have feces in the water. Um, the United States has tons and tons and tons of problems, and this country's just wasting its money on stuff like the death penalty and the military industrial complex, and giving money to millionaires and billionaires and huge multinational corporations. But going back to the death penalty, it's murder, and it is, is I'm gonna get some backlash from this. I really don't care. But yeah, hey, I believe that, hey, when someone commits murder, someone murders someone, hey, I believe that they should get punished. But you gotta know, you gotta pay attention to the evidence. You gotta know if that person is innocent or not, or if they have an intellectual disability. They shouldn't be put to death at all. They should be executed. They shouldn't receive capital punishment at all. And you know what? The death penalty, like other things in America, is affecting people's lives, and it has. In other countries, like in Canada, I saw this on a special report or documentary from the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. They showed disabled people working at a Tim Hortons, and the boss, who was deaf, hired them, and they were making a living. They were doing great, and they showed an employee who had Down syndrome. He married his girlfriend, and they live in a condo. They live in an apartment, and yeah, and I saw a disabled entrepreneur who was making money about the awareness of disabled people. I think that's what I saw, and he was doing, and these people are doing fine, and and you don't have anything like this in the U.S. Some disabled people are just overlooked, ignored. They're treated as subhuman, um, like they're nothing, like they don't matter. And Donald Trump um, made fun of a disabled reporter. You know, it's kind of funny. Like people like Donald Trump, people who are non-disabled. I mean, you got people like non-disabled people who do jobs, they work and live their lives. I mean, the majority of them are dumb, and they can't even do anything right. And Donald Trump is one of those people. I mean, those people who call disabled people retards and calling them every name out of the book and making fun of them and their disability. Like, I mean, I mean, I mean, they were subject to a broken education system that didn't teach them shit. I mean, they don't know nothing about the world, like, you know, and a lot of non-disabled people in America can't even find fucking Britain on a goddamn map. I mean, they don't know who the prime minister of Spain is. They don't know who's the president of France. They don't know who's the prime minister of the United Kingdom. They don't know who the prime minister of Italy. They don't know who the prime minister of Australia, and they don't know who the prime minister of New Zealand. Like, these people are dumb as fuck, and they go around and put down disabled people and don't give a flying fuck about them. I mean, and the people in Texas who support the death penalty, they are so far gone in their ignorance and stupidity. It's just sad. You know, I went to the store one day in a Texas city called Liberty City. Went to a Dollar General store. I saw the line, and some guy said, "Come on, brother. It's okay, brother. Come on." Okay, I got in line, and I had no idea that I had no idea that the line. Well, I had no idea that I jumped the queue. I didn't queue up the correct way by going to the end of the line. And I'm used to people tell me to go ahead of them, tell me to cut in line because I have a few items in my hand. You know, this happens a lot to every store I go to. It's crazy. And some overweight old white guy, old man, said this: "The line begins there. The line begins there." He's telling me to go to the end of the line, and that's what I did. And I heard a cashier said, I'm here to I'm here to serve. I'm here to ring up everybody's items." And me and that guy heard that. We went to other line that they had no queuing at all. Okay, I was wearing a mask, because of the coronavirus epidemic. The guy that told me the line starts there, he turns to me and said this to me. If before the coronavirus outbreak, if you come in here wearing that mask, they're gonna call the cops on you. And I looked at him, and I looked at him. I said, "Yeah, because I look like a robber." And he just shook his head and didn't say anything. And I'll explain about that. In the part of Texas that I live, there's closet racists here. I live in East Texas. There's closet racists here. They'll they'll pretend like they pretend like they like you, and because if you're not white like them, they'll like you, and they're okay with you. But when they go behind closed doors, they'll say every racist thing out of the book about you and everybody who isn't white. And this, yeah, and why he didn't respond to me when I said, "Hey, yeah, this mask makes me look like I'm gonna get ready to rob the place." He sat back and didn't say anything because, well, because I was black. If I was white, he would respond back to me. But he viewed me as, he'll say something to me and he expects me just to be some dumb non-white person, not to respond, just to be dumb and never talk, just be dumb and stupid, and just to be dumb and silent. That's what he wants from me. I remember I was in high school. I rode the bus, and this bus driver was a white lady from Houston, Texas. She got all scared because she never been near a black person. Okay, her fear made her lie to someone, telling them that I was masturbating on the school bus. I think a psychiatrist that me and everybody in class was saying that, told me that I was masturbating on the bus. So yeah, so that's racism here in the eastern part of Texas. I don't know if it's like that all over the state, but I experienced that in the eastern part, and people from Houston, white people. Well, anyway, the death penalty it's murder. Countries in Europe don't have this at all. They don't have it. And I watched a documentary about two people from France who went to Texas and went to the Polinsky unit in Houston, and not Houston, but Huntsville, stating that, this is crazy. I can't believe that they do this all the time. This does. We don't even do this in our country at all. This is what one of the French people were saying. Yeah, because to them, it's primitive what we're doing here in America when it comes to capital punishment and other things that make us so backwards. We're just primitive Neanderthal knuckle dragging cavemen. Funny. I want to say this. You got these pro-life people who are pro-life, they care about unborn life, and they're against abortion. And once that life is born, they don't care about it. They don't care about that life having their resources and everything, programs and things cut from them by the Republicans, because they just cut these programs for these people, these unborn lives to survive on. And oh yeah, if that unborn life grows up and goes around and kills somebody, they put them on death. They put them on death row, and they put them on death row and have them executed. And that's it. I mean, they care about. I mean, they care about unborn life. They're against abortion. And once that unborn life is born, programs and everything is cut from that unborn life. That's life. That there's a person now that's living outside their mother's body. Cut programs for that life to survive on, and if that life grows up and becomes a murderer and kills somebody, they'll have them put to death, and it doesn't matter if they're disabled or non-disabled. They don't care. So these pro-life people don't run on logic and common sense at all. You know, it's funny. Someone bashed me on one of my videos while I was giving my 46 reasons why the USA sucks. That person called me an incel and a retard. Called me a retard because I was stumbling on what I was saying in the video and saying that, oh, you can't get the words out of it. You can't get the words out of your mouth, incel. So cry on, retard. US, US, US. And we're innovated. How can Americans be stupid and we're innovated? And cry on, retard. US, 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 US. Well, we're innovated, that's true, but you know, we have tons and tons and tons of problems. And our reaction to the coronavirus epidemic was just piss poor and terrible. I mean, we were unprepared for this. And our health care shows that. And I saw on a YouTube video from CNBC talking about Germany did a better job of responding and handling the coronavirus pandemic. I mean, Germany did a better job than we are doing. We're doing a horrible job on this. So innovating and being being innovated and being diverse, that some people in America are saying don't mean jack shit when it comes to developed countries that are ahead of America on everything, like countries like Germany, France, and others. So yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, those non-disabled people who want to shit on disabled people and calling them retards and incels are the real retards. I mean, because non-disabled people who bash and tear people down here in the US are a bunch of ass backwards, retarded, freedom loving, clueless, asshole motherfuckers. And that's what they are. And we can be as innovative and diverse as we can be, but we're still going to do ass backwards shit like killing people with an intellectual disability, people who have mild mental retardation, who are mental retarded or mentally ill or have Down syndrome. I mean, we're just backwards. Totally backwards. So that's all I gotta say in this video. Peace.